بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الإخوة المواطنون،
اللي انتوا بتعملوه هيرد عليكم وهتقلبوا الدنيا كلها جهنم.
الفلسطينيين فاهمين هم بيعملوا ايه.
Is that a good answer?
مراسم تشييع جنازة الرئيس الأسبق محمد حسني مبارك.
انتوا عاوزين تاخدوا كل حاجة بالراحة واحدة، هيجي وقت تواجهوا فوق ال 400 مليون واحد جفرة. انتوا اوجدتوا جو عدم ثقة.
My name's Norbert Schiller. I worked as a news photographer. 1984 to 2009, I worked as a news photographer in the Middle East, from Morocco to the Khalij. First time I met Mubarack, I mean, I was up close personal with him, 1985 or beginning of 1986. And I think the first story I covered with him, it was very funny because it was at Abdeen Palace, it wasn't at the Hadaya. A gentleman by the name of Frank Wisner went on to become really an important person in the American State Department. The first photo of him, and I think that was the beginning of 1986. He loved to have the press in front of him. For example, there was some presidents and heads of states, which I covered, where they got very nervous when there was cameras in front of them. They didn't like it. Many times, I remember I did an interview with Abdullah Saleh, the former president of Yemen. He looked at me like this. He looked, and he continued to talk. I took a second one, he threw me out. Now, Mubarack never did that. I sat through every interview right next to the correspondent, shooting anything. He didn't care. He was the same with television. He loved television. And I photographed him in many different situations. I photographed him when he was on the field in Toshka, for example. I photographed him with the military. I photographed him with heads of state. I photographed him in Salumi with Gaddafi. I photographed him indoors, outdoors. I photographed him in every situation. He didn't do anything special. At that particular interview, it was really at his house, and it was very friendly. We had tea, coffee. I really want a picture with you. I've been covering you all these years. I want a picture of you two, me together. And he grabbed me in a headlock and held me like this. And I was looking up. I said, "Take the picture." And he missed it. And the picture was me with his hand on his shoulder, which is that picture. And that picture was my saving grace from 1996 till the time he left office. Every time I had problems with a traffic stop, they would ask for my ruksa. I would open up I would hand the ruksa, and that guy would look, he'd say, "Da Rais." I go, "Anta meen?" I said, "Ana Masar Bata. Ahla wa sahla tafadal Yusad al-Basha." And sometimes I remember I was at the Suez Canal, and this is when it became very difficult to photograph the Suez Canal. And I was stopped, and I remember my brother-in-law was with me from America, and they grabbed him. And I said, "Oh my God, this is going to be a big problem," because he probably didn't have his passport with him. He probably left it at our house in Cairo. My driver, Mustafa, also had the picture in his car. And he said, and he opened it up, and he just saluted me. He said, "Fadalu." So that picture with Mubarak was like a carte blanche for Egypt.
انتوا عاوزين تاخدوا كل حاجة بالراحة واحدة.
انت بتألف كلام من عندك.
هيجي وقت تواجهوا فوق ال 400 مليون واحد جفرة. انتوا اوجدتوا جو عدم ثقة.
After an interview sometimes, he was interested about photography. He would always ask what camera I use, why did I use 2 flashes, or, I used to have, he asked me simple questions like that. He would say, "But you've been a resident here a long time. You should have Egyptian nationality." He'd make jokes like that. I said, "Yes, I would love to have it." And he would ask me, "How is the situation? And things, how is your life here?" And I said, my wife's very happy here. Most of my kids were born here, so they feel more Egyptian than anybody. I think Mubarak in the beginning was a very good thing for Egypt. He was a turnaround from kind of 180 degrees from Sadat, who kind of was bent on appeasing the West. Mubarak kind of, in the beginning, kind of stood on his own 2 feet. He inherited a country that was removed from the Arab League, and he brought the country back to the Arab League. He got off that plane, he was king. They wanted to speak with him, they wanted him back because the Arab world was not the same without Egypt. Basically saying the first 10 years, I think he did very good for the country. The second 20 years, where it was a slow, gradual decline. And there was many times along the way he could have bowed out. And I honestly don't believe it was all his fault. I don't think he controlled the situation anymore. I think people around him, including big business, and they had a lot of influence on what he did. I don't think it was his decision. I think he lost touch. He was behind the big business and the power elite, the really powerful people in this country. The power got to him.
لا يمكن لأي حرب أن تحسم قضية التفاوض. وأنا بقول حلوا مشاكلكم مع جيرانكم بالتفاوض.